eventually grew it to a chain of 30 stores, sold it to Walgreens for millions, and was a phenomenal philanthropist. And he just showed what being a true leader was all about. It's not all about, you know, how you can succeed yourself. It's how not only you can succeed, but how your success can help others to succeed.
And as always, I am here with you, your intrepid host, Andrew Dupe, Head of Communications over here at Leaders Brands. And with me today is Eric Yaillen. And not only did Eric just teach me how to say his name properly, and not only teach me how to give a proper bio, but he is also the creator of the brand identity lifecycle framework. And he's the founder of Megafluence, where they power thought leaders. He has nearly 40 years of experience working in sports, health, fitness, entertainment, and the technology industries. And he's worked with everybody from solopreneurs to Fortune 100 companies. Eric, welcome. I'm very glad to have you here. We've had a little bit of a game of meeting tag, but all of that is done, and you're finally here in front of our audience, and they're excited to meet you, I'm very sure.
Let's hope. I also figured out the technology issues because I was having some of those this morning.
Well, everything seems to be working fantastically right now. So, you know, aside from that short bio, what can you tell us a little bit about yourself so that our audience can kind of get to know you better?
Well, I have been doing this for a long, long time. I knew very early on in life that I wanted to be in marketing and marketing communications. And I actually started back in high school. Now, my father, he was a microbiologist and very much into science. My mother, however, was a typical liberal arts type major, and she was very much into communication, and she was a copywriter for the JCPenney catalogs and did a lot of freelance work. And I kind of more gravitated into that. And early on, I joined Junior Achievement. And that's where I got my interest in entrepreneurship. Now, I had an unusual entree into Junior Achievement. Now, in those days, now this was a long time ago, and this is not how the organization runs today, but you would have, it would be a year-long program. You'd be sponsored by a local company, and you would literally create a company from start to finish, selling stock, electing officers, manufacturing a product, selling it, so on and so forth. The company that I was in was sponsored by the local, one of the local television affiliates. So what did we create? We created a television show, and I was selling television airtime. And I was very, very good at it. I learned how to read Arbitron and Nielsen rating books. And instead, you know, the typical junior achiever would build some kind of knickknack, and they'd knock on the door of all of their friends and neighbors because they were selling something at 20 bucks. I was selling things at thousands of dollars, and I had to go to CEOs of businesses because your next door neighbor is not going to be buying commercial airtime on a television show. In the 3 years that I did that, I was the top salesperson globally with Junior Achievement. In fact, I earned more money those years because I got commission for anything that I sold than most companies, most Junior Achievement companies would sell in an entire year. My commission was that good. So needless to say, I had an interest in that. And then when it came time to graduating from high school, I immediately said, well, you know, I should start a business. And I started my own PR firm, and my very first client was the founder of Manpower International. Now, it wasn't for manpower, of course. It was for his foundation, but it was still a big name client, and I was going on radio shows, and I was the spokesperson for this big powerhouse leader in the community. I went on to explore every little aspect I could in different levels of marketing communications. I worked in corporate communications, I worked in PR, I worked in government relations, you know, every little aspect that I could get involved with. And eventually I ended up working with ABC News. And that was fun. That was a phenomenal experience as well. Now, you know, I had this ability, not necessarily an ability, but a desire to learn from the best. And I think throughout my career, I look at the leadership styles of the people that I worked for or worked with. And, there's a lot of leaders out there that they never want to hire people that are better than them because they're afraid. But then the best leaders, what do? They only want to hire people that are better than them because they know if they hire the right people, it will make them look better in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had the great opportunity of working with, again, we had Elmer Winter, who is the founder of Manpower International. I got to know a guy named Ben Barkin, who is known as the father of special event marketing. I got to work with Edward Bernays, the father of modern PR. I worked with ABC News with David Brinkley and Peter Jennings and Ted Koppel. And so I had a lot of great, well-known people that I worked with. And then also in my community, I got to know a great man. His name was Marty Stein. He was a small business entrepreneur who had a dream of starting a pharmacy, and he eventually grew it to a chain of 30 stores, sold it to Walgreens for millions, and was a phenomenal philanthropist. And he just showed what being a true leader was all about. It's not all about, how you can succeed yourself. It's how not only you can succeed, but how your success can help others to succeed.
Right.
So that's a bit of my background.
Yeah. Well, I mean, tell me a little bit about what is, Megafluence, because it's a catchy name. We know we power thought leaders, but what exactly is the purpose in that?
So as marketing has changed over the years, and with the growth of social media, we now see that there's a whole industry of people who are thought leaders or who are influencers. But there's a lot of people who are influencers who don't know how to monetize. They just know how to influence. Yeah. And then there's a lot of people who have a better message to share, but don't have that level of influence. But when I looked at any type of business, what made certain businesses stand out from their competition? What were they doing differently? And that's where I saw that there were certain things that they were doing so that they could achieve market leadership in their niche. Yeah. And so it's from there that I said, it's not just influence, it's mega influence, or shorten it to Megafluence. Yeah. And by the way, that's for the purposes of trademarking and brand names. I mean, there's a rationale to all of that too. So in looking at all this, it's what does a person have to do to elevate their position in the marketplace? Yeah. Well, the more I researched it, I found out, I live by this adage. There's 3 truths in life: death, taxes, and you will be Googled.
That is so true now.
So when you're Googled, how do you appear? Are you a search result or are you an entity? Mm-hmm. If you're an entity, that's an elevated status that you cannot buy. You cannot pay somebody to do it. You have to earn it, because it's how you have trained and how that algorithm that Google has picks you up and says, you're different, you're special than everybody else in your industry. Okay, well, we all know, and I'm sure everybody has heard this phrase, people like to do business with those that they know, like, and trust. Yeah. Okay. And Google, their algorithm has an acronym. It's called EAT, E-A-T-T. E-A-T-T. So it's expertise, authority, authenticity, trust, things like that. So what do you do to evolve with that so that you can earn that knowledge panel? And so there's a whole bunch of things that you need to do. And certain people find it a lot easier to get that knowledge panel. Usually it's somebody who's a celebrity, because everyone recognizes them. They haven't really done anything special. However, But when you're an entrepreneur, you're not necessarily a celebrity. So
Right.
how do you earn that knowledge panel? Well, again, it's what is it that you're doing to elevate your position in the marketplace? What value are you constantly giving back to your audience? How are you educating that audience? Are you always, is your messaging in social media, look at me, or it's, I understand your problem and here's a solution to your problem?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, same thing with LinkedIn. And then are you leveraging different assets, social media assets, in a way that the algorithm can identify and connect the dots and say, this particular article is written by this particular person, or this particular picture or video. And so there's a whole process involved with how you create your videos, how you structure your videos, how you name your videos, how you produce your thumbnails. When you have photos, how do you name your photos? Most people don't even rename their photos. They take it out of their camera as in, it's like DSC_12345.jpg. Well, Google doesn't know that that's you. So how do they do that? So we're very much involved with all of those elements. And now, by the way, got to become clean here. I'm just a search result right now. Okay. Now that's because, I stopped working. There was a period of time that I wasn't, because I was producing a whole lot of stuff. But then I got sick in 2014 and I stopped working completely until 2022. And so now I'm rebuilding that presence.
Yeah.
And part of the way I'm rebuilding that presence is knowing that one of the fastest ways to get that knowledge panel is to be an author.
Yes.
Now, not every author gets a knowledge panel. I know a lot of people that have a lot of books, but they haven't done anything right with the books. So they're not recognized as an authority. So I have a plan in place. And so I'm starting down that road and now trying to build my authority back up so that not only do I teach, but I also do.
Yeah. And that's really, honestly, one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on, because I have gravitated myself between being an entity and a search result. It just really depends. I was very surprised when I found that I was an entity at one point, and then after that I was a search result again. So I was very curious to know, what are some of the methods in which people can do that, because I don't know anybody that doesn't want to have that if they're in business. If they're in business, they're branded. I don't know anybody that would not want their name to actually be an entity that somebody could interact with. So a book is a good starting point, I would think, to begin that. What are ways that you can use that book right? Because you mentioned that people that have books, they haven't used them right.
Well, so part of it is, again, it's not just having a book.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And unfortunately, in this world that we live in, there's a lot of gurus that are out there that they want you to buy their services to create a book, and what they're going to sell you on is you're going to be an Amazon bestseller. But the people in the industry know that it doesn't take a whole heck of a lot to be an Amazon bestseller. You could be a lousy writer, have a lousy book, and be #1 in 10 categories in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you certainly, when you're dealing with certain companies, you want to go with the companies that understand the business a little bit more. And it's not just about getting that book published, but it's about how you use that book.
Right.
Most people who create books, they don't use the book to make money. They're not going to make money off of the book itself, meaning from the sale of the book.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they don't leverage the book to do other things, like get in front of live audiences and get paid speaking engagements, and use it as a calling card to get people who want to do business with you because they see that you're an expert in whatever it is that you're doing. But that's only part of the pie. You also have to, it's amazing how many people I know who have books just on Amazon, and they never even took the time to create an author panel. But that author panel is something that Google indexes.
Yeah.
So you got to do that. Or there's some argument in the marketing community, of whether you should have a wiki page. And then there's a difference between a Wikipedia page and a Wikitia page. And there's different arguments there, but maybe that's another asset. Or are you using the fact that you have a book to get other opportunities to write and publish articles in third-party magazines? And are those magazines developing backlinks to your business? Because again, that's all important in the whole world of SEO, getting, people to refer back to you from their high domain authority sites. Are you putting out media releases on a regular basis that has links to whatever it is that you're doing? Are you leveraging, if you're a B2B business, are you leveraging LinkedIn and doing things like newsletters? Newsletters are a phenomenal way to help elevate your presence. And again, newsletters are indexed by Google. Now you take that newsletter and then you do what's called spin tax, which is basically you rewrite it by, it's the same article, but you might use different adjectives and maybe a couple different changes in your sentence structure. But you have the same article and you publish it in high domain authority sites like Medium or in Reddit or with Quora or other areas where there's high traffic, because high domain authority sites get more exposure for you and your name and your brand. That gives you links back to your site. It's all indexed by Google, so it elevates your presence, so it makes it easier to get that knowledge panel.
Right.
There's certain social media sites are not indexed. So if you want to be, especially in the B2B space, if you want to be that entity, the one area that you probably want to avoid more than anything is Facebook, because most Facebook stuff is not indexed. Instagram, certain things are indexed. LinkedIn is highly indexed. Twitter or X is highly indexed. Google is highly indexed. And by the way, that's another area that most people don't even understand. How about creating a Google business profile for your business, and then also for you and your personal brand? Because Google Business Places is actually a free social media site. So your same blog entries can be posted there. Your same pictures can be posted there. And of course, Google is going to index Google. Surprise, surprise. And also, by the way, YouTube, obviously extremely important, is getting on that, because again, that is a Google product as well.
I mean, man, Eric, if I wasn't recording this, I'm going to have a piece of paper and a pen right now. Because this is really interesting, because there's a lot of things that people don't know, and they don't know how they get this. And it's also true that you can lose what you've already gained, because I was talking about that. I think you had mentioned that you had that at one point, and I have back and forth. So what goes on there? What's the situation where somebody says, well, heck, I had the knowledge panel, I'm still producing content, but then it disappeared and I don't really know why, and it's not really transparent to me?
Well, but the question is, are you still producing content?
Right.
Okay. Usually the people that have lost it is they had some situation occur in their life that they stopped producing content for a while, or they reduced the amount of content that they were producing, or they started producing it and putting it in different locations. So there's that. Also, there's a lot of people who have knowledge panels and they're not even aware of it, because how many people Google themselves? And I'm constantly coming across people where, the first thing I'll do is I'll Google them, and then I'll go and say, by the way, did you know that you had a knowledge panel? And they go, what's that? I go, well, here, let me show you. And see this little button here, it says you can claim it, because you need to claim it, especially if you have a name that other people have a similar name. You want to make sure that they know that it's you, and there is a vetting process. It takes like 30-40 minutes to go through that vetting process just to verify that the person that they awarded this knowledge panel is in fact you.
Yeah.
But usually, again, it's just the fact that they stopped producing content. Now, if you're a celebrity, you tend not to lose the knowledge panel.
Right, because you're constantly.
Well, if you're an actor or an actress, that's a typical, or a sports person, you're always out there in one way, shape, or form, even after you retire. I mean, if you are somebody who starred on a television show and there's reruns, you're constantly out there still.
Mm.
But that's not true for us regular guys. You know, they don't think we're anything special. So for all they know, you know, we've moved on to another life.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea behind the search engines is to understand the buyer's intent. When somebody is going to a search engine, they're looking for a solution to a particular problem. If you're not producing now, and you were before, maybe your information is relevant, but guess what? There's probably something more current that might be more relevant. So Google is going to elevate the more current information over yours, and eventually you're going to drop off because you're just not producing anymore. The whole idea, by the way, Google is changing their entire search engine ecosystem in that they're going to what's called the one-click search. The goal that they have is not to send them to your website. The goal is that they have enough information on that search result that they can give you that information from the point that you do that initial search.
Gotcha.
Now, hopefully they're not going to have enough information that you're going to want to click and get more, but the goal is to satisfy the need of the customer as fast as possible and reduce the need to do a lot of clicking through to find things on the internet.
You're right.
So your job is to satisfy that and support it.
To give as much information as you can to satisfy that initial one click.
Yep.
See, this is sad. This again, I like this because we constantly have questions on this show where we're asking, you know, how do you stand out? Because there's so many similar businesses nowadays. I mean, there's right now, if you throw a rock, you're going to hit an AI company. Right now, you know, there's something out there that's always going to be covered. So this is really how you do it. This is how you're able to actually make that stand out, by being able to brand yourself specifically as yourself rather than what your product is.
Again, marketing 101 is a successful business person is one who solves problems for their customers better than everyone else.
Right. And you have to be able to demonstrate that you're the one that's able to solve those problems.
Yeah, no, there's this reticence that happens with a lot of entrepreneurs where they say, well, I don't want to give up too much because then they can get all of my information and my knowledge for free.
Right.
But what they don't understand is that you can give them all of the knowledge in the world. When it actually comes time to implement, the likelihood is if they really want to implement, they're going to hire you because you've proven to them that you know your stuff and they don't want to do it themselves.
Right.
So, and all the people that want to do it themselves, well, you don't want them as customers anyway. So give them the knowledge, let them go on. The likelihood is they won't be successful. And maybe a year from now, they'll come back to you anyway.
Yeah. I mean, and that makes complete perfect sense. And, you know, we've seen that in our business too. I mean, we're a publisher. There's hundreds of publishers. There's thousands of publishers. I mean, how do we manage to stand out? Doing things like you're saying right now, by being able to get out there, produce content like this, get out and make material on LinkedIn.
And also understanding the business and not, you know, selling pipe dreams.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, but, you know, no one's going to know that you know that unless you're able to actually get them to click on your material and see it and demonstrate it and go and actually consume your material. Because as far as anyone knows, we're the same as the one that just says, heck, if I get you bestseller status, you're fine.
And again, it's the bestseller status is fine.
It's a good start.
That's not the solution. The solution is, okay, you got that. Now what are you going to do with it?
Right.
And are you taking that information? Are you promoting not only your involvement in a book, whether it's your book or a compilation book? Are you using it to leverage other opportunities? Are you taking the contents of whatever you wrote and repurposing it? A lot of people, when they're putting a book together, well, maybe what they did is they had 50 weeks worth of newsletter articles all on a consistent theme. Well, the book is basically all of those separate articles compiled into one book and put into one place. So, you know, that's another concept that a lot of people don't understand. And that is create once, repurpose everywhere.
Yeah.
So you take that book, you take that chapter of the book, you repurpose it as a couple different blog articles. You turn it into some YouTube videos, both long and short. You take that YouTube short video and you put it in and make it an Instagram reel. Then you put it on, if TikTok is where your audience is, then you take that same content and you put it onto TikTok and maybe just put in a different music bed.
Yeah, in all of that sounds, it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense, but it's hard for a lot of people to see. So I mean, I guess that's why they need people like you to be able to help them and guide them through the situation. A little bird told me once about the length, the ideal length of a podcast. So we are kind of coming close to the end here. So normally I ask for a golden nugget, but you know, this is all gold because I think we could go for an hour and everybody's going to continue to listen and take notes like like they're in school. But Eric, is knowing that we can't go forever, how can our audience find out a little bit more about you and start digging in more and getting some help for it?
Well, so the easiest way to find out about me really is to go to LinkedIn.
Okay.
And just looking me up, it's Yaillen, Yaillen. You can also schedule a discovery call with me, and that's easy. All you got to do is go to gottacalleric.com.
Yep.
And for people who are really interested in elevating their brand, we're going to be doing an event in Las Vegas at the end of January, where it's a 5-day event. Half day is learning about how to become a Google entity, and the other half day is creating assets, photos, B-roll, and A-roll, so that you have some things that you can actually repurpose. But of course, just having that isn't enough. It's knowing how to use it, where to use it, how to name it, and all that other kind of stuff. So I would just encourage people to get a hold of me and schedule a time at gottacalleric.com.
All right, that's fantastic. That sounds like something of extreme value, ladies and gentlemen. Those links are down below, along with Eric's featured articles and our books. And yeah, Eric, man, this was really, really useful. I want to have you back on because I think that we have more that we can explore. So I know as some of your other projects come to fruition, let's meet again and just talk more about this, because I mean, I could listen to this all day.
Well, I appreciate all of the support there, and I'm glad that I was able to provide even someone as experienced as you with some nuggets of good, valuable information.
Well, yeah, definitely, absolutely. I'm going to be stealing and picking your brain on a lot of it. Eric, again, we appreciate you being here, and we wish you the best of luck, sir.
Thank you very much.